That was MJ Lenderman, a Nashville-based singer-songwriter that has had a rapid spike in popularity after the release of his 2024 album Manning Fireworks. He began his career as the guitarist for the band Wednesday, another group receiving a lot of praise recently. Lenderman is 27 years old. He's scruffy, looks in need of a haircut. He's shy, a little goofy, and aloof. He doesn't fit anyone's picture of stardom. But right now, he's also one of the most prevalent voices in a new era of alternative country music, a revival that has slowly gained density since the pandemic. What is country music? It's America's tonal export. It carries folk music's everyman sensibilities, but it achieves a more widespread appeal thanks to its thrumming rhythms and soulful vocal deliveries. It's been around for quite a while. Many historians point to 1923, when Fiddlin' John Carson recorded Little Old Log Cabin in the Lane. It became one of the first commercially successful recordings marketed as hillbilly music, proving there was a national audience for rural Southern music. Since then, it's had its fair share of idols. Hank Williams, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Dolly Parton, each has brought a different color to the genre. The music has evolved, formed itself to fit the mold of the day. Its passage through time is anything but linear, but it bears a striking resemblance to the development of other music genres. It carries the weight of the culture, and it does it with a few bundles of wood and string. If I were to ask you to define modern country, you might point to Luke Bryan or maybe Toby Keith. This so-called bro country is somewhat new, emerging from the late 90s and early 2000s to dominate the southern airwaves. There's a lot to talk about drinking beer and driving trucks. It still carries the blue-collar flavor of typical country music, but it's sung by millionaires driving Bentleys instead of F-150s. And this music fills stadiums. Even Old Willie couldn't do that. Country music was in a dark age. Songs were being written by committee. Image came to dominate. Storytelling was relegated to the background. A genre that was supposed to tell the truth about ordinary life was being marionetted by corporations trying to sell cheap beer and cheaper politics. Where did the troubadours go? What happened to the people writing songs about the America they experienced, not the one they believed in? I suppose there was a tipping point. There always is. The pandemic hit with the fury of a hurricane, washing away our caprices and bathing the world in a cruel, honest light. We could no longer poke our heads in the sand and believe that everything was going to be all right. All signs proved otherwise. You might call this nihilism, but in a way, it was what we needed. A breath of fresh air, albeit through a mask. The Renaissance began around this time. Country music was at its lowest, its most base, and from the ashes arose a new era of songwriters keen on portraying the world as it was. It's hard to say who was the first. I'd be lying if I said I knew. But the music changed, not only lyrically but sonically. Gone were the overproduced vocals and neutral guitars. What emerged was raw, it was visceral, it carried weight. A performer singing into an SM57 microphone with nothing but his guitar to carry him. The lyrics were poetic and true. The stories told were old as the hills, while also being urgent. I'll give some names. Tyler Childers, Sierra Farrell, Big Thief, Colter Wall, these to name a few. These artists sprang up fully formed and ready to combat the world's preconceptions of country music. And the people were ready. They developed loyal followings, and some of them, including Zach Bryan, were filling venues fast as lightning. What made these artists so compelling? Why were they gaining such popularity? They weren't promoting in any large way, and they definitely weren't known for their compelling personalities. What they had was raw talent and a need to tell their truth, even at a cost. These artists weren't perfect. Their images weren't choreographed. Hell, Colter Wall was still working on his family's cattle ranch between shows. Where once country music success was dictated by what the radios played or what the labels pushed, these old methods were no longer visible. Music streaming services destroyed the monopoly, leaving the music free to be discovered. Likewise, social media platforms like TikTok and YouTube gave artists a platform to self-promote. The gatekeepers lost the power, and music flourished as a result. Modern pop music focuses almost exclusively on the I. Egos are large, but true country music, the kind of music that was steadily rising, focuses on the we. Gone were the singles about booze and trucks. Now there were songs about addiction, decay, mountains and rivers, murder ballads, and haunting odes to lost love. Another big change. The old country hero was a dying breed. Old country artists were loud, brazen, and dominant. The new country artist was vulnerable, grieving, uncertain, and reflective. Look at Adrienne Lenker of Big Thief. Her voice is soft. She seems shy, a little sad. But her voice sounds as large as a mountain, and her lyricism as nuanced as the wind. From these new pools of sound stemmed estuaries and canals, new takes on an old formula. The band Wednesday combined the chaos of punk rock with the twang of country, and Lenderman found a healthy balance between lyrics steeped in the internet age and an old, rusty sound. Even traditionally folk artists leaned into the twang, as Phoebe Bridgers did on her song Graceland 2. Country music could no longer be used as a word to contain all that was happening. It seemed too small, slightly antiquated. I called the genre alt country in my video's title, but even that leaves a lot to be desired. Country music has changed, but it's not new. Every generation believes it invents something new, but sometimes progress is an invention. Sometimes it's remembering what mattered before we forgot. That's why this movement feels so powerful. Not because it's bringing country music back, because it's bringing humanity back. Thanks for watching. I compiled a list of some of my favorite alt country songs in the description. I hope you enjoyed, and please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you like what I'm doing. There's more to come.